Greetings, friends, and welcome to Enigma Night Gaming. My name is Liara, and I will be your guide in today's adventure. Today, we're playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, and in today's episode, we're waiting for the results of the test that Scotland Yard needed to run on the tea sample that we told them was stored in the soap, the mold that Shamspeare had made in order to defraud the gas company. So now we need to find out if in fact there was poison in the tea. We're maintaining that there wasn't, and that Sosaki is innocent. Let's hop in and find out if that's the case. 22nd of February, 1:11 p.m. Naruhodo's Legal Consultancy. Phew, we made it back in one piece. Just. To be perfectly honest, I thought we were finished there for a while.
Oh, I know. What a lot of close shaves. There are so many carriages on the streets of London. You were nearly flattened several times.
Oh, no, I didn't mean that.
Yes, I know. It was a marvelous defense, Naruhodo-san. It really was. I was in awe of you.
Oh, thank you.
And now that your fervent exploits have won us some more precious investigation time, let's see if we can't find some new clues for court tomorrow.
Yes, let's do that. Where are we gonna look, I wonder? Back at the murder scene?
Is everything alright?
I suppose. I still can't quite believe it, that's all. That I'm here in England, working as a lawyer, I mean. In the Old Bailey, no less. The truth is, it shouldn't be me, should it? It should be him standing in my shoes. It should be Kazuma.
It was Kazuma-sama's wish that you follow him to Great Britain and work alongside him.
Yes, I mean, I never had the chance to ask him exactly why, but he clearly had a plan. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him.
And you're doing wonderfully, Naruhodo-san. I've no doubt that Kazuma-sama would say exactly the same if he were here with us.
Thank you, Susato-san. Thank you. Oh boy. Wholesome. Alright, let's talk to her and see where we ought to go investigate next. And also what she thinks of today's trial. It was quite a shock earlier today, wasn't it? When the victim himself turned up in court and took the stand.
I know.
Not only that, but then finding out that he is actually a barefaced gas thief as well.
Yes, that was certainly a surprise to us all. For a while, it seemed as though everyone had quite forgotten about Sosaki-san poisoning the tea.
Careful of your phrasing, Susato-san. He didn't poison anything. And there's more to this Mr. Shamspeare than we yet know. I'm sure of it. Yeah, I agree, because we still have that piece of envelope that we found on the ground, but we don't know what letter it went to or anything. Like, there's going to be something with that, I know.
Mr. Shamspeare certainly wasn't the noble, upstanding man everyone thought he was at first.
What's become of him, actually?
I was told that he'd be returning to the hospital ward where he was receiving treatment.
Oh, which one is that? Maybe we have to go visit him.
Let me see. Ah yes, he's at St. Bartholomew's, or Bart's as Londoners call it.
We know that place, don't we?
Yes, we visited Miss Green there yesterday. It's the same hospital to which she was taken.
Ah yes, after Sosaki-san stabbed her in the back.
Do be careful of your phrasing, Naruhodo-san. He didn't stab anyone.
Perhaps we both owe Sosaki-san an apology. St. Bartholomew's. Yes, we should probably visit the hospital later. Alright, let's see. What's next? So, we know that Sosaki-san took tea to the victim on the night in question. But as he isn't the culprit, then obviously...
Yes, the poison surely wasn't in the tea.
But if that's the case, how on earth did the poison get into Mr. Shamspeare's body?
I'm sure we'll find a clue at the scene. There must be something in Mr. Shamspeare's room that will help solve the mystery.
Well, naturally, Scotland Yard detectives have been over the place already. But it couldn't hurt for us to have another look around, I think.
Definitely. And I'm desperate to know the outcome of the investigation into the tea left in the bar of soap.
Well, if we run into Inspector Gregson, we can ask him about that. We're just filling up our to-do list, guys. Well, what would Kazuma want? Kazuma Oshogi, the best friend I ever had, and a lawyer with such promise. He really saved my bacon in that horrible incident just before we left Japan. I can still picture him now, looking so fierce and determined in court. And then, after the trial, that crazy idea he came up with. As a stowaway? Yes, you can fit inside my trunk if you curl up small enough, I'm sure. No one will know. Kazuma, won't you tell me why? Why go to these lengths so that I can accompany you to Great Britain? Well, it's been on my mind ever since we got through that trial. That you really ought to go into law, be a defense lawyer. You've got a natural talent for it. Believe me, I guarantee it. But I've never even thought about becoming a lawyer. Well, I can't force you, obviously. You'll have to decide for yourself. But anyway, London is the cultural capital of the world, the city at the forefront of everything. It can't hurt for you to see it with your own eyes. No, that's true. I suppose, though, if you were to become a lawyer, then one day... One day what? Yeah, exactly, that's what I'm thinking, Ryonosuke. One day what? Oh no. Never mind. What? What does he have in mind?
Naruhodo-san?
Oh, sorry, I was just thinking about Kazuma.
Yes, he's forever in my thoughts too. To change the Japanese judicial system for the better, that was his dream. And that's why he so desperately wanted to come to Great Britain to study, of course.
Yes, that's right, but...
Yes?
I do wonder if his true intentions lay elsewhere sometimes. I don't know. The thought just takes hold of me every now and then, that's all. What were his true intentions?
Naruhodo-san, what do you mean by Kazuma-sama's true intentions?
I mean this.
His katana?
I never expected to inherit this sword after Kazuma passed away, of course.
No, I know. It was because I asked you to take it.
When I have it at my side in court, I feel as though it gives me courage.
Yes.
Actually, the night before he died, he told me a little about the sword. It was like an extension of himself, right? Kuruma? That's right. It's a prize sword that's been passed down through generations of the Ashogi clan. A Japanese man's sword is his soul, Ryonosuke. I can't be parted from my katana. Kuruma guides me. I truly believe that. So its name compels its wielder to slice evil in two? Not that you would need much compelling. On that subject, there's something very important that I have to do in Great Britain. Something you have to do? Yes. I'd appreciate you seeing it through with me. Of Of course I will. Whatever it is, I'll see it through to the end with you. I knew you wouldn't let me down. But we don't know what it was.
What did he mean by something very important that I have to do?
I had hoped that the answer to that question would become apparent when we arrived here, but as yet I've not found a single clue.
I see.
Alright, 22nd of February, St. Bartholomew's Hospital, recovery ward.
What do you suppose is happening? It sounds like some sort of disturbance.
Yes, I hear angry voices. Be not angry, O ample lady. Verily thou art mistaken. Mistaken, my foot. You were looking at my painting. The eye of man hath not heard, the ear of man hath not seen. 'Twas foul indeed, the poison that moustache villain gaveth me. Forgive me, lady. I wish that you died from that poison. God of mercy, ample lady, but thou seest I have vigor still. Behold my Shakespeare dance.
This looks rather ominous, doesn't it?
What? Ah, lo, 'tis the lawyer from the land whence riseth the sun. How now? What are you doing here, Mr. Shakespeare? Mary, I do believe I am returned unto another ward. He was looking at what he was doing. That's what he was doing, looking at my terrible work. He's not denying it. Eastern fellow, so darkly clad. Faith, thy work in court this morning was wonderful. I do applaud thee. Oh, well, thank you. But, that doesn't mean things will go so wonderfully for you tomorrow, does it? My guy? Might want to control that temper a little bit. Just a smidgen. Anon, exunt. Does that mean you're leaving now? Oh boy. Mr. Shakespeare might technically be the victim in this case, but there's definitely a lot more to it than that. It's very hard to pin the man down. You know, if we visit his room, we might find that letter. Maybe he took it with him. Let's talk to Miss Green. I'm so sorry. I'm such an awful person. Miss Green, is everything all right? Oh, yes. I mean, don't worry about me. They're about to discharge me, so I must get ready to leave now. Oh, I see.
We're delighted that you'll soon be well enough to go home, Miss Green.
Oh dear, you're too kind. I don't deserve it. Oh boy. Can we talk to her? Let's see. So, are you feeling more like yourself today, Miss Green? I am, thank you. I mean, people do recover from ordeals like this, don't they? Even people like me? Well, yes, it really was an ordeal, wasn't it? As far as I was concerned, I was just walking along in the snow one evening, minding my own business, and then, completely out of the blue, I was struck in the back by a knife and collapsed unconscious for days. Of course, when I finally woke up again yesterday, the whole business had been cleared up already.
What a terrible week it's been for you.
Oh no, I'm sure I'm very lucky, really. I'll look back on this fondly. Really? Anyway, I must be getting my things together now, so I'm ready to be discharged. Oh, yes, of course. Sorry to take up your time when you're obviously busy. Alright, so this 22nd of February, Mr. Natsumi's lodgings, ground floor. Oh, hello again, Inspector Gregson. What are you doing here? Well, we were hoping to have another look around, actually.
The lawyer representing the defendant has a right to examine the scene, as I'm sure you're aware.
Yeah, I know the score. Oh, yes, one other thing. The soap on the ledge outside the window. Did you find it with the tea in it? Yeah, we found it all right. And there was a small amount of tea in it, as you said. I knew it. It's with the identification section of the yard now. They're looking into it. The results should be available later today.
That's wonderful news. Thank you.
He's not saying anything. There's got to be a catch. Pretty impressive performance in court this morning. Sorry? Nothing. Forget it. Just make sure you don't disturb anything in here. Oh, he's embarrassed. He complimented us. Whoops. Alright. Let's look around first. Look at the teacups again. Ah, the ill-fated teacups from which the two men drank on the ill-fated night.
During their heated literary debate, yes.
Who's stronger, Romeo or Juliet? It sounds like it was quite a discussion.
Now I think of it, I'm sure that the two lovers in the play ended their lives with poison.
Ironic? That's fiction, Mr. Sato. Let's hope it stays that way. Alright, let's look at the soap.
So it turns out that Mr. Shamspeare wasn't eating the soap at all.
That's right. The mystery of why he had it on a plate whilst holding a fork in his hand is solved.
Yes, to prise his latest size coin out of its mold. And in the process, he accidentally broke the bar of soap in two.
It certainly was hard to imagine, let alone deduce. Alright. We still got that we need to examine. What else can we look at over here? There's also the board over there on the left side I want to check out. The sun never shines in this room thanks to that depressing bricked up window.
Yet with enough determination, you can always remove the bricks to set some soap outside, can't you?
Sounds like a very wise life lesson, Mr. Sato.
Only if you plan to follow a life of crime, Mr. Naruhodo.
I mean, that's true. What else do we got? What is with that? I guess we can't examine that. Is there anything else over here that we can examine? There's this stuff.
This is some sort of makeshift stage, I think, isn't it?
Where does the audience sit, though, for the nightly Shakespeare performances?
Actors aspiring to the great stage must practice their art, Mr. Naruhodo, with or without an audience. In fact, on a related note, perhaps you should set up a mock bench for the defense in your office.
What?
Then you could practice your art every single day.
I'll think about it if you promise to don a beard and play the role of the judge.
Well, if that would help you achieve your goal.
This I have to see. Alright, is there anything else to look at? I think we're ready. What is this? This is a gas wall light, isn't it? It must be connected to a gas pipe in the wall.
Gas lights? A gas stove? London really is a city of gas.
But now that I think about it, Mr. and Mrs. Geradev had an open fire on the top floor, didn't they?
Oh yes, you're right. I don't recall seeing a gas stove up there.
Well, I much prefer a real fire anyway. It's so much cozier. And maybe they're trying to save a buck or two. Let's look at this. If you ran out of change, you wouldn't even have any light, let alone heat. For the needy, London's winters can be very harsh.
That's true, but if you think about it... Even the wealthy would find themselves freezing if they ran out of small change.
London's winters can be very harsh for the forgetful, too, then. Frankly, I'm starting to wonder if Susato-san and I are going to make it to spring.
That's true. We don't even have a meter at Baker Street, let alone a gas stove.
Look how dark the stain on the floor is underneath the meter there.
Yes, from all the water dripping out after the ice coins melted, as you established in court this morning.
It's a very large and obvious stain, isn't it?
Mr. Shakespeare must have used an awful lot of ice coins, I suppose.
It was an ingenious idea, I'll give him that. Alright, is there anything else? I think that might be everything. Let's go ahead and talk to him.
Are you looking for new clues, Inspector?
On Lord Van Zeke's orders, yeah. Don't come back till you've got something for me, he says. Tisk.
Oh dear, who are you?
Yeah, poor me, because we've already searched every bleeding nook and cranny in this place. I don't know what he expects, to be honest. Thank goodness for warm chips is all I can say. Well, at least he's honest. Let's see. 22nd of February, local prison cell 9.
Oh, Mr. Natsumi is back.
So he is. Mr. Natsumi, hello. What's he doing? Okay.
I'm a cat.
Sorry?
I don't know who Mr. Natsumi is, or Herr Lakshons. I don't know about courts or trials or old bailies. I am a cat. That's what I am. Just a cat. Mr. Naruhodo, he's trying to escape from reality.
Trying to? He already has, completely. So, what is your name then?
As yet, I have no name. Mr. Naruhodo, he hasn't fully thought out his new identity yet. Maybe it's not too late to bring him back to reality.
Do you think you could open your eyes for us, Mr. Natsumi? Let's see. Aw, he did it. Okay.
I'm not a cat. It worked! He's back in the real world! What's going to become of me? No, don't enter that! It's obvious. My accursed soul is never going to escape this accursed fate. Mr. Natsumi, no! This morning's proceedings in court proved that there's hope. Yes, locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire was brilliant, but the Reaper is omnipresent, in court, in my lodgings. Here, there, everywhere.
What's he looking straight at me for? I think perhaps there are some things we should discuss.
Oh, yes, we must.
Alright, so what do we get to talk about? Let's see. The trial this morning?
In my whole life, have I ever been so moved as I was today? No. Of course, if I cast my mind back, there were perhaps one or two other occasions that moved me more. But if I just block those out, then today, being in that courtroom, it was the most moving experience of my life. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
You're too kind.
Scotland Yard found the remaining tea, just as we deduced, and are analyzing it as we speak. There's nothing wrong with that tea. They won't find a drop of poison in it. That's a full sworn Soseki certainty.
Tell me, did you both drink the tea at the same time that night?
Oh yes, most definitely. Remember, drink tea while it's hot. We both poured it down our throats like it was a hot bath from our bellies. And at the time, you were both completely fine.
As shown by the fact that he and Mr. Shamspear then engaged in the Romeo and Juliet match. I suppose the focus of tomorrow's proceedings will be how the poison was taken by the victim then. I think it may have had something to do with the envelope, perhaps?
That rotten Shamspear! What have I ever done to him?
You don't recall him taking issue with you over anything you've done recently?
I've been holed up in my room, immersed in books. I don't recall anything at all.
Right.
But what I don't understand is why he didn't let me know sooner. Let you know what, Mr. Natsumi? About the soap, of course. What else? Oh dear. Are you struggling with such a meager stipend? Of course I am. If I had money, I wouldn't have chosen to live an accursed existence in such accursed lodgings.
Oh yes, you said it's because the place is cursed that it's so cheap, didn't you?
Exactly. Especially the room that I rent. The spirit of that capital offender who still lives there still haunts the place and is trying to kill me.
Capital offender?
Might I ask, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, that the next time you visit me, you'll bring scores of super soft soaps.
22nd of February, Mr. Sholmes' suite.
Oh, Bruno and Susie! Hooray, you're back! Hello, Iris. You're in fine spirits as always, I see. I am, and you look as immaculately presented as ever, Susie. Oh, you flatter me. Well, you couldn't have come at a better time. I just made a pot of tea. I'll set some cups.
Really? Thanks, Iris. But actually, what is that foul smell? Ha ha! The wonders return at last. Where on earth have the pair of you been? We've been in court? Oh, for Mr. Mustache's case? That was today, was it?
I'm sure I mentioned it only yesterday, Mr. Sholmes.
I'm sure you think you did. Well, we can laugh about it now. So tell me, how did the trial go? Reasonably well so far. We've managed to escape without a guilty verdict, at least. Really? I would have liked to see it. And I must pass the time of day with Mr. Reaper again. It's been too long. Is Lord Van Zeeks an acquaintance, Mr. Sholmes? Naturally. There's not a person in the world who doesn't know my name, Mr. Naruhodo. Not quite what I asked, but still.
Mr. Sholmes, whatever is that odor?
Yes, what is it? It's faint, but absolutely awful. Ah, indeed, that's the scent of victory, my dear fellows. Victory in science.
Oh dear.
Alright, I'll bite. What's he up to now? Let's find out what he's making. Lord Baron Van Zeeks. Baron Van Zeeks. I think that's supposed to be Baron? I don't know. Yes, it's an interesting sobriquet. How do you pronounce that? Sobriquet he has, isn't it? The Reaper of the Bailey. Once the legendary prosecutor has fought for someone's conviction, that person is doomed. Even if he or she is found not guilty by the courts. Sooner or later, the hapless soul will vanish from the capital. But vanish how exactly? By falling under a passing carriage, or drowning in the Thames, or succumbing to a sudden fever, or quite out of the blue being set upon by a highwayman. There are numerous routes to one's final terminus, my dear fellow. It all seems a little far-fetched, really. Well, on the bright side, Mr. Mustache is fighting fit, for the time being at least. That's not overly reassuring.
If the rumors are true, though the obvious conclusion would surely be that those acquitted are, well, by Lord Van Zeek's own hand.
As it happens, Mr. Sato, that is quite impossible.
Oh, why?
Naturally, the man very quickly came under such suspicion. However, when these incidents occurred, the Reaper always had a cast iron alibi. Really? And so his reign continued, but 5 years ago, he vanished from the courts, never to appear as prosecutor again. That is until you arrived in the country, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, so I've heard. In fact, it was the very day I arrived when I was thrust into that trial at the Old Bailey. That bitter fight to the death coincided with the Reaper's resurrection, and really did end bitterly indeed. And here you are, facing Mr. Reaper again.
Poor Bruno, I don't know if you're just incredibly unlucky or incredibly unlikable.
I think it goes deeper than just me. I sense a general loathing of all Japanese people. Alright, let's ask about the foul smell next. So, what is that indescribably foul smell? Ah, well, most probably this, I would say. What is that? My dear fellow, it is of course my latest invention. A chemical test that can identify whether or not a tea is genuine at the drop of some tea.
Oh my!
There are some unscrupulous sorts manning stalls along some of London's less frequented streets. They regularly sell what purports to be high-quality tea, but is in fact merely dried leaves of drab flavor. Well, that's certainly unsavory behavior. So when one is presented with what appears to be black tea, one must be careful. Iris? Oh boy.
At the ready, Hurley.
We're gonna test this. Let us add a drop of my chemical to this cup of tea here. Do you see what happens? Okay, it turns black. It turned completely black.
And what a foul odor it's giving off.
Indeed, the blacker the tea becomes and the more foul the odor, the better the tea is. It would appear this cup was a particularly fine Darjeeling. That's very ingenious, but what do you do with that black liquid now? Why, dispose of it, naturally. Surely you wouldn't like to drink it, would you? No, I don't think so.
There does seem to be a rather obvious problem with your new invention, Mr. Sholmes.
Hence why this chemical test is merely a test, my dear madam. Right. Point is, we're entering a new era of science. In the world of criminal investigation also.
Yes, forensic science. Oh, these are such exciting times.
Oh boy. I regularly engage in this scientific experimentation alongside my unofficial consulting detective work. The Herlock Sholmes method will be the foundation upon which modern investigative techniques is based. This little tea indicant was a happy byproduct of my ongoing forensic science research. Forensic science. I suppose I should find out more about that. Alright, so now Japanese people. We're just going all out of order. With Mr. Natsumi, whom I'm currently defending being Japanese, as well as Mrs. Sato and myself, I felt it even more keenly in court today. For some reason, Lord Van Zeek seems to have an inherent disdain of the Japanese. Indeed, it is an interesting observation.
Do you know something about it? Do you, Mr. Sholmes?
Does he? Let's see. It was about 10 years ago that Berk von Zeeks chose to enter the legal profession. However, before that time, the young man's closest companion was a Japanese man, Hailed from the Empire of Japan.
No.
What the? Tell us more, Mr. Sholmes. What happened? I believe I've made it clear before. I'm unable to tell you anything about the affair.
Oh, but
what's gonna happen? The veil will be lifted on the events of the past in due course, I have no doubt. For now, however, it is Mr. Mustache who is most deserving of your attention, I believe. Okay, so basically a bunch of stuff that we can't find out right now. So your T-test, is that an example of forensic science? Indeed it is. An essential tool in cases that hinge on the knowledge of whether some tea is of high or inferior quality. Not a huge number of cases, then. Perhaps a more practical example is required. Fingerprints? Not yet accepted in our courts as evidence, I might add. But really, we are dragging our heels there. I hadn't even heard of them until recently. Which is partly why I undertake research in this field myself, of course.
does that mean you're studying fingerprints, Mr. Sholmes?
There are others in that field already, and I abhor the company of inferior minds. No, what I am researching is skin prints. Skin prints? A nomenclature of my own design as this chemical agent that makes it possible. It instantly reveals objects touched by whichever person is under investigation.
Brilliant, Mr. Sholmes.
As long as it doesn't turn everything completely odorous and black. I assure you, my dear fellows, you will witness my forensic talents in action very soon indeed. Oh boy, I can't wait! Well, I think we should go back to the scene and see if we can uncover any new clues.
That's the spirit, Runo. See you later.
Yes, until later. No, Mr. Sholmes, we were thinking you'd come with us. You were? Yes, of course. You said so just a moment ago. You said we'd witness your forensic talents in action? Ah, yes, I do recall saying something along those lines. But you should go on ahead. I shall be sure to follow you later, in all likelihood. Probably. Maybe. Well, I might. Your commitment astounds me.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Sholmes. We'll eagerly await your arrival. Bye-bye, Runo. Bye, Susie.
Oh boy. Mr. Sholmes, what are you up to over there? What a question indeed. Was it not your good self who asked me to attend the scene? What are you doing here, Sholmes? What are you up to over there? What are you doing here? Dear me, once a great detective, one is always under scrutiny, it seems.
Is now the time, Mr. Sholmes? Are you about to show us your forensic talents in an action as you promised?
With the greatest of pleasure, my dear madam. Oh boy. Let's see what we got here. What's all this? He's got his weird goggles. Oh, this is precisely what you requested, Mr. Naruto. Airlock Sholmes' sensational skin print seeker gun. Moments ago, I took a sample from the teacup that was used by the victim. A sample from Mr. Shamspeare's cup? Each individual leaves microscopic secretions on everything he or she touches. A sample of those secretions is all I need to produce this, a refined indicator solution. By liberally spraying the room with this chemical, everything the victim touched is instantly revealed with the aid of these goggles. Here, try them on. Oh boy. Oh there, now spray the chemical indicator about and all will be revealed. Spray? How do I do that exactly? A little piece of space in the area you're interested in is all that's required. Like this. Okay. What is that? It's like fog. A suspension of chemicals indicator in a pressurized gas. It's the most efficient way to cover a large area. That was another invention I discovered instantly whilst I was developing this idea. As you do. Go ahead, try it, my dear fellow. We may learn something interesting about the victim's movements on the night in question. Well, there's nothing to lose, I suppose. But let's explore. Alright, so we spray everything. We're just gonna spray all around. Did he touch that? I don't see his fingerprints on that. Oh, he touched both cups, okay. And he touched this box. And he touched all over there, of course. And all up there. We'll, like, just spray everywhere. What about the lamp? Did he touch the lamp? No. Wait, what? Look, there are dozens of handprints here. So there are a great many indeed. So much so that it's hard to make out any one individual print, in fact.
It sends a chill down my spine.
Perhaps he was leaning against the wall while he admired this picture? Unlikely, I would say. It's a rather dull scene after all.
And without wishing to state the obvious, you wouldn't generally admire a picture from such close quarters, I feel.
Oh, very true, Mrs. Sato. It's a bit of a mystery, then. Okay, let's keep spraying. If there's anything else, then we'll... What about the floor? Is there anything on the floor? We'll examine the other side as well. Oh, look at all this here. Ah, yes, interesting. A multitude of the victim's handprints.
Why are there so many of them on the floor in this one spot?
Ooh, perhaps he had a bad fall just here?
There's nothing obvious that he would have tripped over, though, is there?
I wonder. Personally, I often stumble when there's nothing obvious to trip over.
I think there's something only a great detective would do, Mr. Sholmes.
Well, this is quite a puzzle. Handprints all over the floor. Yes, there's no obvious explanation. Unless he was pulling up the floorboards. Well, we sprayed Mr. Sholmes' amazing skin print indicator all over this room, didn't we?
We did, but there are two places in particular that are of interest, I would say.
The handprints on the floor there, and on the wall by the picture, you mean? We need to examine those?
Yes, and I think the floor warrants closer investigation. I won't be a moment.
Is she gonna pull up the floorboard for us? I think she will.
Ah.
What is it, Mrs. Sato? It's gonna lift up, isn't it?
Look here, Mr. Naruhodo. One of the floorboards has popped out.
One of the... You mean... It's a secret hiding place? Excellent work, Mr. Sato. So, what do we have in here? What are you doing? Inspector Gregson. Stand aside right this minute. It's my job to investigate there. No need, Inspector. You continue to dig into your portion of chips whilst we dig around under the floor here. Your fancy talk's putting me off my food anyway, Sholmes. A new bit of evidence is exactly what I need. Oh boy. Wow, a secret hiding place under the floor. What a find.
It's not a hiding place you could make use of in Japan. I don't think I could lift a straw tatami mat.
No, I know, but I never expected one of these wooden floorboards to move either. It's got me wondering about the wall over there, too. Aren't you curious?
Oh. I'll investigate at once.
I'm curious what she'll find. Let's see.
There's nothing behind the picture, sadly. Only the wall.
How disappointing. But then, how do you explain the handprints?
I really can't think why anyone would have been touching the wall over and over in one place like that.
Click. What? What? That was a camera? There you are, print for you. Alright, so we have the photographs of the handprints. Okay. There are multiple prints on either side of a hanging picture. Oh, thank you very much. His invention can make prints too. Now then, I wonder if Inspector Gregson has found anything under the floor there. I'm desperate to know.
So am I.
Let's talk to him and see what he says. I'd love to know if there's anything hidden underneath the floorboard there. Allow me to ask Gregson now. After all, we're well acquainted. Inspector Gregson, really, it's been too long. What is it, Sholmes? I thought perhaps you might show me what you found there, seeing as we're such good friends. We're not friends. No, I suppose not. What's he going to find? A dismal failure! Yes, I heard. I'd kill to know what was under that floorboard. Is he gonna say? What's he gonna say? Alright, then, fair is fair. What? You did discover the hiding place after all. I suppose I should at least fill you in. Really, Inspector? Thank you. Do it quickly, my dear fellow. If there's one thing I know about this man, is that he blows with the wind, as fickle as the weather. Stop making me out to be some kind of a nut. There were 3 items under the floor there, a newspaper clipping, a photographic print, and a tin box. Now, what do you want to know? I guess let's ask about the news. Well, hopefully we can ask about all of them. Looks like this was cut out of the paper about 3 months ago. It's about a convict who got sick and died while he was serving time up in Manchester. How terrible. It made the headlines down here in London as well. Look had been sentenced to death, you see, but nature got him first.
Oh my goodness, he committed a capital offense?
Man by the name of Selden, nasty piece of work, into burglaries and murder. They say the hoard he'd knocked off was worth about £1,000. A hoard of treasure, you mean? Jewelry and the like, but he'd hidden it somewhere and no one knows where, and now he's dead. The papers loved it, of course. £1,000 lost en route to hell, or some such was the headline. Oh boy. Does it not strike you, though? Why, such an article would be so carefully ensconced under the floor. Maybe. I suppose now you mention it, it does seem a bit odd. Perhaps I'll go over the paperwork we've got on Selden back at the yard and see if I can turn anything up. Alright, I wonder if there's anything on the back, too. Alright, let's ask about the print. So, this is the photograph I found. Looks reasonably recent to me. Oh, it's, Garadeb. And who is that with him? Who is that with him? Yes, it would appear to have been taken on the street in front of the house here.
And the gentleman on the left is Mr. Garadeb, the landlord, of course.
Well, who's the young man on the right? Mr. Garadeb's son, perhaps? Maybe. Perhaps. You can take that print if you like. Really? Are you sure? We can presume, therefore, that the yard already knows. The identity of the young fellow, that is. Ah, is that true? Huh. Well, it's too bad if we do. Unfortunately for you lot, leaking information isn't one of my pastimes. My dear Inspector, if I may be so bold as to point something out. Pastimes are for one's leisure, but this is for work. All the more reason I'm not telling you. A dismal failure. Yes, I heard. Alright, so we got the hidden photograph. I wonder why a photograph like this was hidden under the floor. I mean, Mr. Shamspear himself isn't in it. Photographic prints still rare treasures in the East End. I imagine Mr. Garadeb was rather delighted to have been immortalized. He probably made a proud present of it. Maybe. Alright, what about the box? Let's see about the box. Now this tin box looks interesting, doesn't it? Might I suggest, Inspector, that you open it? If you were to find something inside that reveals the truth behind this case, I wouldn't be in the least surprised. It could hold poison. Yeah, funnily enough, I've already had a look. It's completely empty. What? Shamspear, give us a clue, man.
You didn't even have a chance to utter a word, Mr. Naruhodo. But anyway, at least we found out what's inside the box.
Yes, thin air. It's empty. Rather like how I feel inside. Is there nothing more to this box then, I wonder? I imagine there probably is. Hopefully we can get it as evidence. It's a cat? Oh. That cat gets everywhere. It's a kitty.
Oh, look! It's that lovely little kitty cat. What was its name?
It's Mr. Natsumi's, isn't it? I don't think we ever asked him, actually. Why don't we call it, Wagahai? You know, like Mr. Natsumi refers to himself in Japanese. I wonder how he got in here. Clever cat.
Oh, wonderful. Well then, Wagahai, there's something delicious I bought you from the cat's meat man.
The cat's meat man. So cute. He's just enjoying his supper. Aww.
He couldn't be happier now, look.
I just hope we can bring some happiness to his owner too. Alright. So can we examine anything else? Can we examine Waggy? Aww. So cute. Cutest cat ever. That was a cheeky little meow Waggy.
Oh, but he's so adorable. I could sit and watch him forever.
I think he may not appreciate that after a while, and we have an investigation to get back to. Can we examine this over here? Still cannot. Okay. We've examined over here. Alright, that may be it then. Unless there's something we can look at over here. Doesn't look like it. So let me look at the court record and examine the two new things that we got. Alright. Condemned criminal dies of natural causes in prison. Manchester's Strangeways Prison announced the death of convicted murderer and burglar Selden by natural causes in the early hours this morning. He had been suffering with fever since the end of October. Alerted by the shouts of his fellow cellmate, medical staff arrived to find him already dead before his capital punishment could be carried out. Okay, what about this one? Wait a tick. Artist brushes. Is this somehow related to Miss Green? I mean, it's way dinner. Is this? And it's a guy instead of a girl. I don't know. I'm confused. I'm suspicious. I want to go. Maybe we can go back to the hospital? Alright. Let me see. I want to look at this picture again. Look, there's a photograph in this frame here. It is! It's the same guy.
Oh yes, it's the picture of a young gentleman.
He looks to be about the same age as Miss Green, I would say. Perhaps the young woman's special someone, do you think?
My, Mr. Naruhodo, I didn't know you had a sense for matters of the heart.
Not in the least. I sincerely said the first thing I thought of. What's this? It's a newspaper cutting that we found in Mr. Shamspeare's room. Okay, so maybe this is what we needed to do.
Ah, so he knew, did he?
Sorry?
About this man, Selden. A convicted killer, and the evil spirit behind the curse that afflicts my lodgings.
Oh, it was that guy? Really?
What? He's already taken one young man's life, and now he's trying to take the life of another, a miserable, mustache, much misaligned Japanese man.
Mr. Natsume, if you know something, please, you must tell us. Tell us everything you can about this evil spirit. Alright, what about Selden?
The truth is, I didn't know the details myself until very recently. That Selden man was arrested about a year ago now. And at the time, he was hiding out in lodgings at Mr. Garadab's house.
What? He lived where you do now?
That's right, yes, exactly where I live now, in my very room.
Well, that's discomforting.
Oh my! Your room was previously occupied by a criminal found guilty of a capital offense. But before his sentence could be carried out, he died in prison. That was 3 months ago now. And that's when it started. The curse. What really is this curse you keep mentioning, Mr. Natsumi? It's already caused one death a few months after the criminal passed away in prison. A man died in the room, the man who rented it after Selden, in fact. The poor lodger, he was found dead in mysterious circumstances. The room was locked from the inside.
Locked from the inside? Exactly like the case we're dealing with now.
So, that's
that's the convict's curse, is it?
Yes. Well, that was the start of it.
Okay, what about the rest?
Do you have any idea how the lodger before you passed away, Mr. Natsumi? The official cause of death was asphyxia. When they discovered the body, the room was full of gas.
Gas?
I only found that out after I'd signed the lease. When Mr. Garadeb came to tell me later, I couldn't stop myself trembling. In fact, if I'd known beforehand, I probably have been too scared to take the room. Landlord's lease, luckily legal.
Lucky for Mr. Garadeb, maybe, but not so lucky for poor Mr. Natsumi. And now you believe this curse is affecting you?
It is. At first, I just felt as though I were being watched all the time.
And then you talked about having nightmares, didn't you?
The dead are trying to take me with them. They could come for me and try to suffocate me. Just when I'm so struggling to breathe, I wake up. And the room is as cold as ice. But why is your room so cold? London winters are too cold to bear without any heating on overnight. But for some reason, even though I light the stove before I climb into bed at night, the pilot light always goes out and the room fills with gas.
But that's terrible. That's exactly the same situation as what led to the previous occupant's death. And then there's what happened to Mr. Shamspear last night when he was mysteriously poisoned. There's clearly more to that incident than can be explained by a curse, though.
Whatever can be the cause of all these strange happenings in Mr. Garadeb's rooms?
Is he going to be back now? Yes. Ah, you're here now, Mr. Garadeb. Right, my business it is for me, you know. Getting out and about. Were you at the Old Bailey by any chance? Naturally, fate of my lodgings hanging in the balance and all, not a trial to miss. The fate of what's already been dubbed your haunted lodgings, yes. Of course, the place has caused quite a stir around the capital on more than one occasion already. As the old haunted lodgings or some such. Ah, well, at least he knows. Makes you wonder what the blaze is going on, don't you know?
Yes, I'm sure it does. In fact, thinking back to Mr. Natsumi's other trial just 2 days ago, you were at the Old Bailey then as well, weren't you? Testifying with your wife about what happened.
Stopped off at the prison on the way home, in fact. Beastly business. I see. I'm gonna stand up. So, what brings you to my haunted abode today, eh? Okay. Do we talk first? Let's ask about the lodgings and the lodger. Some fishy fellow from the Far East and a failed actor chap of questionable character, eh? Yes, the house does seem to have something of a magnet for rum fellows of late. Thanks to that bally curse. The convict's curse, you mean? Ah, heard the stories, have you? Rotten scoundrel was arrested here, and then the next chap in the room goes and keels over. And then there was that woman who dropped dead just outside the street, not to mention the actor yesterday. And my next day? Well, can't help but get the collywobbles, can you?
When you say the woman who dropped dead outside on the street, do you mean Miss Green?
Because Miss Green, who was stabbed by the knife, and Mr. Shamspear, who was poisoned last night, are both very much alive still. Yes, well, so is that blasted convict's curse, it seems. Personally, I should be quite content with such lodgings. A bath, a toilet, a fireplace, a fascinating history. Why, it sounds like the lap of luxury. I'm not so sure about that. Well, there's no bath or toilet included, and no fireplace either. But you do look out for your tenants, don't you? By watching the rise and fall of the flames in your gas lamps up here? Yes, never hurts to keep an eye on things, in case there's any mishaps or such like. I think you had your mishap already, sir. That's not helpful, Mr. Sholmes. Heaven forgive me, the words just came to my lips. Alright, now what about the lodgers? Some fishy fellow from the Far East and a failed actor chap of questionable character, eh? There's no need for that, Mr. Garadeb.
That's right. Mr. Natsumi is in no way fishy.
He is undeniably peculiar, however. Is it right that he took the vacancy immediately after the previous tenant passed away? Yes, that's right. I asked the estate agent to find someone and he popped up the very same day. Never come across a chap so keen for a place with a background, as it were. I don't think it was the room's background he was keen on so much as the cheap rent, actually.
So how long has Mr. Shamspear been lodging under your roof?
That failed actor chap? Let me see. Oh, of course. Yes, it's been 3 months now. Quite sure of it. Only 3 months? He's quite new here too, then. And to what do you owe your certainty in that regard, Mr. Garadeb, if I might ask? Well, it was that Selden scoundrel, as it happens. Selden? The convict, you mean? Do Selden and Shamspear have some kind of connection, then? Let's find out. That convict chap Selden passed away in the clink 3 months ago now, you see. Some malady or other.
Yes, we've seen the report from the newspaper at the time.
Well, it was only 3 days later that the tragedian showed his face. The actor fellow. Really? Yes, I remember it quite distinctly. 'Tis small, this world we inhabit. Prithee, landlord, hear my request. I, the humble Shamspear, do desire to take thy room on the middle floor, offered Elwell for rent. Terribly sorry and whatnot, but that won't be possible. I already have a lodger on the middle floor. Ground floor room's vacant, though. Nothing can be made out of nothing. Let me repeat mine will unto thee. Those curls must be muffling your ears. The room on the middle floor is taken. Fix the ground floor, nothing. Very well, we have an accord. Glad to hear it. Welcome to Briar Road. Hello, a Shamspear dance to celebrate. That guy, he's so crazy. From what I heard in court today, sounds like the chap was thieving gas. And he was 3 months in arrears with the rent, too. Yes, the fellow was a bally player, all right. Thank you for your candor, Mr. Gardab. We are most grateful. By way of appreciation, allow me to say 1 or 2 words. Give me my robe, put on my crown. I have immortal longings in me. What's happened to you? Shakespeare, my dear fellow, one of his most famous lines. I wish to divulge my own learning of the subject, for I have a turn for literature too, you know. Perhaps you could turn your attention to more apt lines, then? Alright, now there is one more thing I want to do before we wrap it up. And this may blow open the case. Let's ask him about this photo. Mr. Garrett, could I ask you to look at this photograph? Is that your son who's with you there? No, not at all. He was a lodger here once. Duncan Ross was his name. Duncan Ross. The street photographer happened to be passing, so I asked him to take a shot. Just for kicks, really?
Was he by any chance the lodger before Mr. Natsumi?
Yes, that's right. The young gentleman who died in the room in mysterious circumstances. Oh, and Miss Green was affected by it. Just what Mr. Mustache was waiting for, one might say. This is all connected. Yes, young Duncan lived in the room at the top of the first 5 stairs before that Japanese chap. Would you mind telling us a little more about him? Let's find out. Yes, Duncan Ross. Young chap was attending art school. Had to work to pay for it, mind. Moved into the middle floor about a year ago. After that, criminal Selden was arrested. Young students are always on the hunt for rooms with a history behind them. A history of cheap rent, maybe, yes. Yes, well, anyway, it was one morning about a month ago now. Hadn't quite worked out the old trick of watching the gas lamps to see what my lodgers are up to at the time. So sadly, I was rather tardy to discover what had happened. The smell of gas had alerted me it was. Ah, yes, synonymous with the smell of death. Called the police straight away, of course, and the officer kicked the door off its hinges. But once we got inside, we all bodily collapsed. Because of the gas? Yes, room was full of it. No air at all. Stove must have gone out while the poor chap was sleeping in his bed. So Mr. Ross suffocated to death. Of course, the police gave me a sound ticking off because the gas pipes are so old and all that. Can't tell you how much it sent me back to have the lot replaced all over the house. But even after you had all that work done, Mr. Natsumi says the same thing. That the stove goes out at night whilst he's asleep in bed. Well, that's the Bali curse, the convict's curse. I've done my duty as a landlord now. Someone's feeling defensive. Someone's looking guilty, too. Oh, boy. That reminds me, actually. Yes? About young Duncan. Night before the poor chap perished, he'd been writing a letter. A letter of affection to a young lady.
A love letter, you mean?
Wonder if it's to Miss Green. Yes, where did I put it now? Here it is. Left it on my desk. If you'll excuse me, let me see now. What does it say? To my most beautiful and charming sweetheart.
Do you think that we should be reading such a personal piece of correspondence?
My dear Mr. Sato, that is precisely why I prefaced my reading with, if you'll excuse me.
I will not excuse you, Mr. Sholmes, no.
Sadly, he didn't address it, though. So I have no means of delivering the thing. Rather sad, really. You see, that's going to play on my mind.
But really, the identity of Mr. Ross's sweetheart has no bearing on the case. I think we should leave well alone.
Yes, I suppose you're right. Indeed, the intended recipient's address is missing. However, there is a name attributed to the man's most beautiful and charming sweetheart.
Mr. Sholmes, please, I've already had to chastise you about this once.
My undying love to you, my colorful darling, Olive Green. I knew it. Olive Green. The woman who was plunged into a coma after a knife plunged into her back outside this house 5 days ago. The victim of the last case Sasaki-san was in court for, who regained consciousness only yesterday. Is it just chance that her name has come up now? Could it possibly be a mere coincidence?
Mr. Naruhodo, whatever can this mean?
A reading personal correspondence can have its merits, you see, Mr. Sato. Oh boy, man. That's wild. Well, I think we are going to take a pause here while we think about what we want to do next. I think the next step is probably going to be returning to the hospital and talking to Miss Green and seeing what light she can shed on this whole story. It's just getting crazy. Like, how could this all be related? I'm so curious, like, what new angles are going to turn up. Like, I'm not even sure where to go with this. Is the letter we found in Shamspeare's room going to somehow be related to this? I don't know. Well, we will find out all this and more in our next episode. So if you like this kind of content, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff. If you want to watch live, we're on Twitch at twitch.tv/Liara27. I have my schedule posted in the about and in the description. And if you want to see which games we're playing each day, I post them on x.com/Liara27. And I hope you join me in the next one. Until then, guys, bye.